You got that Paul Harris deal. Blaire said if we would do it for her, she'd join too. I think all y'all know Blaire. She's a Vici native. Had a BS in business administration from Oklahoma State. Recently was at the Alumni Center from 18 to 20, and then the foundation 20 to now. I spent a lot of time on her bio. I could find nothing with a year on it. And I kind of thought, well, when I get her here, I can get the year, and I still don't have the year. Anything about when she graduated, when she was born, nothing. So the Phantom.
You're only as old as you feel, right?
About 28.
Yeah, that's right.
Blaire, thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I am glad to be here. I've never been to Rotary, so this is my first time, and that was really fun. And I now feel like I have a new fundraiser that we're going to do. So Kara, remember, now it'll be OSU traditions. If people get them wrong, it'll be much more than $1 though for missing our OSU traditions. That's right. Okay, we need bigger. Put zeros behind all those, right? Yeah, there you go. It'll be good. Well, like Chris said, I am a native of Northwest Oklahoma. Vici, has anybody heard of it? Hey, all right. Big town. I grew up there. My whole family still lives there. My dad is a veterinarian, so I grew up on a farm. And my dirty little secret is I did not want to come to OSU when I graduated. I grew up in a farming community, and I wanted nothing to do with agriculture, and I wanted nothing to do with what my family had done before, which my dad came to OSU, of course, to go to vet school. So I started at UCO in Edmond and did not fall in love there. What I missed about my small town that I didn't know I would miss was a community, a family of people that care about you, that want you to succeed. They care about your personal, professional growth. And I didn't find that in Oklahoma City and at a commuter school that was UCO, which was a great school. So my dad kept encouraging, come to OSU, just try it, please, just try it. And I did, and I found that family. I found a community of people here that care a lot about you. And if you're wearing orange, you're a friend. And whether that means you're changing a tire on the side of the road, if you see that sticker or that decal, you know you're among family, and it's somebody that's on your side that's going to help you out. And it's what's kept me here. So I graduated from here, met my husband here. We moved to Oklahoma City. I'm not going to Dean Peterson could probably look it up, and he's going to report back what my grades were, I'm sure, and all the things. Yeah. But you know, we moved away for a little while in Oklahoma City. I worked at Dobson Communications, AT&T, and then O'Reilly Auto Parts, and then came back here to Stillwater. But I have to say, because I've got friends in the room, I got my start at Bank SMB, and I feel like I owe more to the SMB family than anyone. They've just were really great. And I see Cade here. I see your SMB back there, right? Okay. What's that? You have to find it. If I call on them, do you find them? Yes. Oh, okay. Also, I have to say I love Christy and Visit Stillwater. I'm on her blog. She's fabulous. You want to keep going? I got you. We'll keep going. We would have fun. So we lived in Oklahoma City. My husband and I were trying to get back to Stillwater, and we were in different towns and had our third kid, and just needed to be in the same place and be able to survive, pay the bills. It was just a hard time for us. And so an SMB connection connected me with the OSU Foundation and the head of HR at that time. And I thought, I don't even know who the OSU Foundation is. I don't know what they do. I have literally no clue. But took a job in HR and took a chance. And what I found was a really incredible organization full of passionate and devoted people who want to make a difference. When I started there, I got the chance to go to Leadership Oklahoma, and on one of their applications, your LOK grad, on their application, they say, you know, what are the biggest issues facing Oklahoma? How do you really make a change? How do you help the economy of Oklahoma? How do you help solve crime and poverty and sustainability, all of those things? And my answer was resounding education. And it's for me, higher education. It's getting more people in Oklahoma that are educated. And that felt like, gosh, I landed, God put me right in the right place at the right time. And it felt like I was meant to be here. And I had the chance to go to the Alumni Association for a little while and learn about their organization and learn about advancement and what that is and how we as advancement organizations really help the university be successful. So I'll tell you a little bit about Foundation, but I'll tell you why we exist and what's facing our university and what their challenges are and how we try to help connect donors and alumni and Oklahomans and just passionate stakeholders, how we connect them with the university to solve real world problems, help people get an education, help. COVID was a great example of that. Calvin was a leader there to help step in. A land grant research university has the chance to do really incredible things for our community and our country. So with that, I'll tell you, I've got slides, but I'm not super good at using them. So if all of a sudden we just jump to the end, don't be surprised. I'm pretty casual. So if I say something, just if you've got a question, roll with it. I don't mind at all. We have a little of our history. I just think it's interesting. We started in 1961. The first $1 million gift was from Boone Pickens, which was pretty incredible. And now we have people, we have a Proud and Immortal Society that has hundreds of individuals who've given over $1 million. Bringing Dreams to Life was our first campaign, Next Level Stadium campaign. And then you all know Branding Success, which was $1.2 billion for OSU. The thing people don't know is when we promote those numbers, the way that we look at it is commitments. So some of those numbers are people's testamentary estate gifts are included in that we may not materialize in our generation, but certainly serve the university long term. And we're very grateful for them. A lot of growth, $2008 million in production. So on average, we have about $170 million annually that we have in commitments for the university. I told Chris, I did this presentation at like 11 o'clock last night. So the fonts aren't the same. The pictures, I'm looking at it like, God, that didn't even look the same. Yeah, it was good. So we raise, invest, and distribute the money for the university. So we're a little bit like a bank. So my time at SMB was real helpful. We manage about $1.2 billion in assets for the university. So we have their endowment and a few other assets, minerals. People donate minerals and we maintain those and then manage the minerals on behalf of the university as well. We have over 300,000 records. So alumni, friends, passionate advocates for higher education. We have all of their information. We have about 160 employees. And to give you context for how the organization runs, last year, 208 million in commitments from 87,000 gifts you touch and process from 42,000 donors. So a great team to make it all happen. We have two boards, board of trustees, board of governors. Board of trustees, you can't really read it, so I'll just tell you. Board of trustees is small, 25 person. They're like fiduciary of it. Board of governors, 300, 400 almost board of governors across the US, helping connect us with alumni, stay connected with what we're doing at OSU, what are the priorities, what are the issues, and how do we help mobilize people around the country to get excited about what we're doing. You can't read this either, but I'll tell you vision and mission. Our vision, and we just revised this at Foundation, really is to transform the university through the power of generosity. And I feel really connected to that. Our mission is unite donor and university priorities to elevate the impact of the university. So our focus is squarely on OSU. When people say, our charity exists just to help the university, and we feel really passionate about that. A little history, you can't read, I said 170 earlier. This is old data, but 163 was right before that. So to give you context, when Calvin joined the board, $53 million a year was what we had on average. And that's just a testament to great leadership in the Board of Regents. Burns Hargis raised the bar for everybody. And so did Boone Pickens. So we have a lot to be thankful for and really a great foundation from which to grow. And this just tells you academics and athletics. And we're proud to say there's a lot moving in academics and good success and great leadership. Dean Peterson, every time I call them out, do they have to give? Is it just once? Okay. Okay, I like that. This is just an endowment asset. You can't see this, but I want to point out. So 1.2, we were 1.5 at 2022. What happened? But we're really probably 1.3, 1.4. What is interesting about this, because I'm going to talk about scholarships in a second and the need for that. Our endowment right now is generates a spending policy to the university. So of those endowed assets, every year we push money to the university. 4.25% of that goes to the university. Of that, about $12.5 million annually to scholarships, which sounds like a lot, unless you're taking that over 30,000 students, the entire system. It's not a lot. It's like $500 a kid. I didn't do the math, so that could be way off. But I feel safe in this environment. You all weren't very mathy either, so it was just go with it. Anyway, we have a real need for that, and here's my why in that is it's not just that kids need the money for it, but it's also I have a 15, almost 16-year-old son, and I'm pushing him in high school. You study hard, you're going to get a scholarship. Study hard, you're going to get a scholarship. Some of it is an earned outcome also that students want to be rewarded for the good work that they've put in, as well as students really do need it as well. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Private dollars to OSU, we do send over quite a lot of money, about 80 million to OSU. Our past has been really about infrastructure. Burns, when he got here, for us to change the perception of our university, we had to change the physical state of the university, and he did that. And so a lot of our fundraising has been really in and out to impact the physical nature, and so we'll be pushing more toward that sustained endowment growth in the future. Why the heck are we here? Why do you even need a foundation? OSU needs the help of its alumni and friends. You've heard Dr. Shrum talk about her vision, and the way I categorize it is we're going to land grant better than anyone else is going to land grant. And that means something to us. Land grants are different than any other university. We have extension services that are in communities, all 77 counties in Oklahoma, and we're committed to making good communities great. We're committed to partnerships with corporations, partnerships with community, research that actually solves real world problems. So you saw that in COVID. You saw that the governor leaned on our university to say, how do we get testing? How do we scale this? And guess what? At OSU, we have a vet school, a great ag school, and a medical school. So you'll see us move more into one. Oh, I'm sorry. And education human sciences is the best of all of those. I said it last, but it really is the best. Oh, Dean Peterson, 100%. He's the best dean that we have, no doubt. He is the best dean of all the deans. But there's a lot of issues facing higher ed. There's an enrollment cliff coming. If you all haven't heard about that, that's a real thing where we just don't have as many kids coming in the pipeline. So you're going to see that in regional universities. You're going to see that in community colleges, and we hope we don't see that in big Oklahoma State University. But this just talks a little bit about that market disruption and that Oklahoma is going to be hit hard. Funding is really low. You wanted a quick stat. I don't know why it doesn't say 2000, 2020, or 2010. It's one of those at the top. I got that jumbled, but we're among the lowest here in higher education appropriations to our university. So that's not a great stat, but it's the reality. And that's why the foundation exists, is because we need donor help to make sure that we have more educated people in our state. Another stat here was state appropriation over the last 20 years. They've fallen from nearly half of the budget to barely over 10%. This, you can't read it, but I'm going to tell you because it's my favorite thing. Kara may have seen this before, but I put it in context. I'm a child of the 80s. Does that help you? I'm a child of the 80s. Back in the 80s, you had 43% of the operating budget for the university was paid for by state appropriation. Today, that's 14. Let's see, minimum wage, $3.10, $7.25 today. The percent cost of annual education, 55% versus 15%. So it's definitely a different day. The cost of college is $23,000, $24,000 now. But back in the day, you could work and help pay for school. And those days are gone, right? It's really hard for a kid to work and help put him or herself through college. So OSU launched a bold vision for that. You all have seen the vision, so I'm not going to go through it because I think I'm short on time. But one of the things I do want to talk about with it is just the need for scholarships. That's the thing we'll be pushing quite a lot. In this part of the vision, Dr. Shrum really laid out a couple of things in this access, student success, cowboy culture. I'm going to say the first 4 imperatives hit my real excitement because we made bold commitments. We're going to make sure that no kid, this is a lot on this one, right? We're going to make sure that we have 5,000 first-year students, that 6-year graduation rates increase by 10%. The one that's most exciting to me is that 60% of our students will graduate debt-free. And of the 40% that have debt, no more than $5,000 a year. So we've got a long way to go, but it's an exciting time to be a part of OSU. The other thing that we're raising money for, I'll give you, well, let me do real quick. The other thing we heard from business, industry, and community is what we need is educated students that also are well-rounded citizens, right? They know how to be what we'd say just cowboy. I mean, Calvin embodies the cowboy spirit, right? Hardworking, dedicated. He's a gentleman of all gentlemen. And I mean, he embodies what it means to be cowboy. And we want to make sure the next generation has that same work ethic, integrity, and value system. So this is exciting because what the university, probably Dean Peterson and his team are working on as well is how do you integrate that within the curriculum? How do you make sure that our graduates are what we say are ideal graduates? And they possess citizenship, professional preparedness, ethical leadership, and personal responsibility. So you'll see great output. Their job is to get them jobs. And I love how many people, that was your shout out, that your kid's getting a job, because that's our goal, right? That they are employed and doing great. So in addition to that, one other thing we're raising money for, scholarships for sure. You've heard Chad talk about athletic vision. You all saw that Chad Weiberg announced the athletic vision. Darren Shrum's coming soon to talk about the student farm. Dean Peterson, I hope you've talked about some of the things you're doing, right? And for him, we put a 0 at the end, so it's a 10 times multiplier, not 1. Yeah. Human Performance Nutrition Research Institute, and this is one our new president really thinks about things in an interdisciplinary way. So it's an institute that will help us land grant with teaching, research, and extension. And it really plays on top of every college. Education Human Sciences is a primary college that will be integrated within Human Performance Nutrition Research. You can imagine the name includes nutrition, as well as many other degree programs. But this institute, the mission, vision are here. So driven by science, powered by humans, to transform health outcomes through the scientific study of human performance. And the mission, discover, develop, deliver scientific knowledge to empower people of all abilities to realize their optimal performance. And when you hear Lance, he's going to say we're all athletes. Lance is the executive director of this. He came to us from the Michael Johnson Institute in Dallas. He was at Nike. He's been physical therapist. Great guy. This is a picture of the building. You'll recognize the footprint. We will integrate, hopefully, our Cowboy football team within the same facility because that population will be helpful to us in the research endeavor as we think about how nutrition and inputs affect performance outputs, both in the classroom and on the field. It's an innovative, there is literally no one in the country doing this. You will see a couple athletic venues that have a performance institute, and it's like a weight room and some offices. Great, cool. Ours really is harnessing the power of a land grant research university to help have transformational impact on outcomes in Oklahoma and beyond, and partnering with our athletic facilities or athletic programs. So we feel like we're going to be the first and the best. And it is a really big deal. So I wanted you all to have some knowledge about what it is. We'll be road showing this a little bit more often, so you'll get to hear about it a lot more. But I think that's it. I think that's all I had. Scholarships. I have a great gal here, but I heard Tobias is coming to OSU, so he'd be another example of why we do what we do. Is we want kids to come to Oklahoma State. And you see one here that says she's got the confidence that someone who doesn't even know her has existed and has faith in her. And she always will have an additional nudge to do the very best in every challenge because of that. So makes a big difference to folks. So what questions? Yes. Okay.
So the question comes in two parts. First, among land-grant universities, how does our foundation or OSU rank among land-grant universities in endowment?
Yeah.
Second part of the question is, how do we rank among all public universities? Take the private universities out because those guys are going to be way up there.
We, for foundation, in terms of our endowment size, we're in the bottom quartile. And that's really, we're just getting going.
Among land grants?
Among land grants and among universities. So we do a lot of peer analysis, and we're in the bottom quartile for the size of our endowment and the support that it provides the university. And large part, like I said, our early days were on growing the infrastructure, which doesn't build endowment. It goes right to the cause.
Blaire, thank you for speaking to our club today. A two-part question for you. If you can, will you tell us your number one orange passion?
I will.
And the second question is, can you tell us a heartwarming story about how private philanthropy really changed the trajectory for a student's life?
Yes, I can. Thank you for that. It's funny because my orange passion has changed over time. But I think for sure student support, student scholarship is my biggest area of personal interest, is helping kids come to college. One group I'm particularly excited about is the Oklahoma Promise Kids. We have over 1,000 Oklahoma Promise Kids at Oklahoma State right now that when they got here, they earned between 3.75 and a 4.0 in their program. People think all the time, hey, they get all kinds of Pell Grants, and they do, but every year they have a $10,000 gap in room, board, tuition, and fees. $10,000 a year for kids that their maximum family income for a family of 5 is $60,000, $60,000 or $70,000. I mean, that's a lot of money. So I'd say student support and really those kids that need a lot of help. So two stories. One is a kid, Justin Wilson, who worked for us at the foundation. We hired him. He was from Southeast Oklahoma. His mom, addicted to drugs. His dad was killed when he was young in a drug deal. And he saw the writing on the wall. His older sibling was in jail, and he knew education is the only way that this is not my story. And he fought hard to get scholarships and landed at Oklahoma State. And only through the generosity of scholarships, he quite literally would not have come without donors helping him get there. He worked in DC in the Obama administration. He is now running a venture fund in Oklahoma City, is married, has 2 beautiful kids, and is a success story unlike anything I've ever seen. And it just reminds me of the power of donor money, helping people, in his words, raise their rock bottom.
So you showed, I think it was 160-ish people, just kind of going back to Larry for comparisons. That number of 160, how does that rank within the other Big 12 institutions as far as number of people working, and where does OSU rank within the Big 12 of donations and such?
Yeah, for a number of people, we're right on target. Our cost to raise a dollar is much lower than our peer group, just overall, but 160 is about right. Each, we would say, when you've seen one foundation, you've seen one foundation, because they're all really different. And some use university resources and some don't. So in our case, We're completely separate from universities. So we have our own IT, our own security, our own accounting, our own finance, our own benefit programs. So it takes a little bit more than some other universities may be more interdependent or integrated. But yeah, right on par.
Just a comment, I love the phrase President Schroeder made. To paraphrase, it was something like to out land grant universities.
Land grant better than any.
That's right. And I love that phrase because I think that many of our land grant universities throughout the nation have forgotten what the land grant mission truly is.
Yep.
And a classic example is MIT.
Yeah.
Many people don't realize MIT is a land grant university, but we
Yeah.
don't think of it as one. We think of it as an elite university, and they think of themselves
Yeah.
as an elite
They
university,
do.
not a land grant. And there are so many other universities who now have forgotten their land grant heritage, which is a shame. Some years ago, you may be interested that OSU wrote a book on the history of land grant universities. I don't know whether you're
Yeah,
aware of
yeah.
that. And it's an excellent book telling you what a land grant university is truly all about. So I love that phrase. I love the mission, and good luck to you.
Thank you. Yeah, we spent a lot of time on that land grant in the strategy process because it was a debate. Do you lean in or do you lean out? And lots of people do it lots of different ways. And we said lean in. Extension, it was built at the time that agriculture was the main economic driver in our state. Now agriculture and many other things. And so we'll use that system to really help with the economy. And I appreciate that sentiment because it is a decision point for universities. And I'm really proud that our leaders moved toward land grant and not away. Okay, is that it? Thank you all.